What's going on, guys? This is Ike Duncan one more time.
What's happening?
It's good to see you. Good to see you. We're here at the Wildcatter Exchange here in downtown Fort Worth, second annual event here. Having a blast. It's my pleasure to be sitting here with three gentlemen, instrumental in
Who
the
are you
Wildcatter.
calling gentlemen?
I'm so sorry. No offense. No offense. Present company excluded, of course. We got Mr. Josh Allen, got Mr. Todd Camp, Mr. Michael Price. Gentlemen, humble pleasure. Thank you so much for helping put this together here, making this possible for us. I'd love to hear from each of you and learn a little bit about each of you and kind of your contributions.
Take it to the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really going to start with me. Okay. This is kind of an interesting trio. We spoke earlier today about comics of the Gone era, the Gone world, and Mike and I did a project together on a film that a lot of people have forgotten about, and it's really your fault, you and your brother's fault, that I basically could not write after several months of pointillism because I decided to kind of imitate something that they were doing.
What
with
film?
their comics.
What film?
Carnival
Yeah.
of Souls.
Which one?
Carnival of Souls.
Yeah.
We did a
Carnival of
graphic novel
Souls.
adaptation.
I remember that.
Carnival of Souls, and I met
Not the
these-
movie, but your project.
Yes, and we were inspired at the moment by watching your brother Drew working on a pointillist portrait of Jackie Gleason.
We were watching him actually do the points.
Yeah, he had the.
He was
He was sitting there dotting.
He was in the hotel room. He was dotting the face of Jackie Gleason in real time, and then etching these tiny dots with an X-Acto knife. That's
Wow.
insane. That's
Man.
insane.
It is insane.
That takes an incredible amount of patience.
So on the
The
way
more
back,
insane is that on the way back home, I said, I want to do that for the Carnival book. It's only 50 pages.
Now, there's a
It's hard
long-standing
hitting.
history of comics, between the three of you, from what I understood. And, would you care to tell us a little bit about that as well, or?
we were just looking at some of the Friedman Brothers comics on the way over here.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Well, then I'll explain what that is.
Okay.
Back in the late 70s and through the 80s, for a good 10 years, I wrote about 100 comic strips that my brother illustrated.
Oh, wow.
Although these days people might say they think I just did the balloons or something, but they're detailed scripts where you come up with the idea, the narration, the story, the balloons.
The balloons.
Everything, and provide some photo references. I would do clip. In those days, you didn't have the internet, so we published in National Lampoon and High Times and Raw and Screw and all the edgier magazines of the era.
I'm familiar with some of those.
For 10 years, we did quite a lot of work, and they were collected in two books called Warts and All and Persons. The other book was Persons Living or Dead. They're still in print, and they seem to have a following for the past 30, 35 years. They still are going strong, even though we stopped collaborating about 25 years ago.
Wow.
So it's Drew Friedman's art and my writing in these comics, and that's what Mike and Todd are referring to.
That was the team that Kurt Vonnegut described as the George and Ira Gershwin of comics.
Wow. That is a big.
So we generated lawsuits, $40 million lawsuit from Joe Franklin. They were thrown out. Jim Neighbors threatened to sue. There were about 3 or 4 lawsuits
Jim
because
Neighbors.
people they were so real. The realism was so strong. It looks like a dream come to life. And Drew's art is so realistic. Not photogenic. It's different. It's an alternate world. But people thought they were seeing themselves, and took offense. I understand why.
Of course.
And I feel bad about it now. I would never try and hurt somebody. But back then I didn't care, I guess.
Well,
I
part of it, I suppose.
I stopped doing anything that would hurt somebody in print a while ago. I learned my lesson.
Well, that's good.
But some people have to be dealt with in print.
It's the only way to go about it. I mean, it's harmless, really, at the end of the day, when you think about it. It's all in good fun.
Well, if they're in your face, if it's a certain kind of celebrity that's in your face every day on TV, you're entitled here in America to make a comment on it or to comment back. You know,
That's
they call it parody or satire. I don't like that.
review.
I don't like
Very
those
close
words.
to political cartooning.
Somebody, Ron Rosenbaum used to call us the first investigative cartoonists with some of the things we did. We were a bit dangerous, what we chose to do back then, I suppose.
Now, how far are we getting into that here at the Wildcat area? Now, you all are each not at all.
For my end, Mike and Todd have contemporary, current things that they do in the comics world. I'm long out of it. Other than my stuff is still in print. I'm not a cartoonist. I don't draw at all. I can't draw a straight line.
Understand.
Neither can I. That's why I use a straight edge.
Black rulers.
Michael is is a great letterer also. I mean, Michael does a lot of things. I love his lettering and his. Have I ever done anything with you? Mike lettered a couple of things with.
We've
mine.
got an unpublished Friedman and Price story about an elevator operator in New York named Nat Yutzman. And it needs to get published. We've never done anything with it. We were going to do a whole book of elevator man stories.
Well, I still
Elevator Man.
hope to someday,
One of
but
these days.
everybody and their mother looks at me like I'm crazy and saying, "Who wants to read about that?" And I think, well, they'll love it in France. You know, a book about the lost world of elevator men that were once Legion and all in the cities
The tribe
across
is
America.
extinct
They were put out of business by automation called a button. You know,
Before
you now press a
Schindler,
button.
before the Schindler Company made everybody into elevator operators, there was a tribe of elevator. Why didn't they call their company Schindler's Lift?
Because they didn't know back then.
But I mean, it's like, what a... Yeah, well,
You just made us all think.
Oh, the Otis Company and
The
the
Otis
Schindler
and
Company.
the Schindler
Schindler is
Company.
more famous for its escalators.
Yes, yes.
So they were never really escalator men, but in New York, for a century, there was such a thing as the elevator man.
The elevator
Every
man.
building had one. The guy who drove you to your floor. And it was
honorable-
usually one step above the Bowery, above Skid Row, was a guy who could hold down a job of running an elevator. And there were thousands of these gents, and I became very good friends with a number of them when I was a boy. I was very endeared to them and learned about their world. So it's a whole book that never got done, a book on elevators.
But we do have one
And nobody
completed
cares
story.
anymore.
You have
We
one.
did one
completed.
strip, and we did one strip on Robert Johnson.
Did
if
one
he had
strip
lived.
on Robert Johnson
He
if
lived.
he had lived.
The endorsements he would have gotten from what?
Oh, from Adidas.
Adidas.
And there's a hellhound on your trail.
Hellhound sneakers, you know, all kinds of probabilities that could have happened had he lived to be an old man. Another unpublished strip.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, gentlemen, it's an absolute treat to be able to sit down and chat with the three of you. Is there anything that you
Tell
want to
about
add?
what they're here for, what they came for.
What the Wildcat?
The Wildcat,
came
what
for?
Mike and Todd were here for.
What,
I was here for something different.
Well, we're, as one of my session musicians says at the end of every gig when we're packing things up and getting ready to move out, well, we fooled them again.
Fooled them again.
The trick is to share these interests as widely with people who might not only be your customers, but who might have an interest in doing what you do.
Of course. Of course.
You don't want to just generate consumers, you want to generate participants.
Of course.
And encourage that, because I've never met anybody who didn't have a story to tell, but I've met a lot of people who didn't know how to tell their story. And the trick is to, hey, if those schmucks can do it, so can I.
There you go. There you go. Wow. That's some knowledge right there. I'm surprised.
Well, I was
Thank
here
you.
for a re-release of a book I wrote called "Tell the Truth Until They Bleed," a music book, my only music book, and hopefully the only book on music I will ever write. I don't like to write about music; I'd rather play it. But this is a book, significant unknown rock and roll history from people who are now all dead. And the great untold story of Lieber and Stoller is in there. probably don't know who Lieber and Stoller are, but you know 250 of their songs. I'm not going to even say it, because you know the lyrics to all their songs, even though you don't know their names.
Really?
But, yeah.
I'm going to Google that.
You Google it.
You guys Google it too. Huh?
Lieber and Stoller.
Lieber and
Google
Stoller.
it. See, kids don't know. Isn't it amazing what? And if he was, this is a young man here. If this was like 30 years ago, and he was the same age, he would probably even know the name Lieber and
Well,
Stoller.
we're afflicted with tribal amnesia. I mean, that's the.
I took singing lessons, just two singing lessons from a young actress in New York who was a singer about a year ago. She was 28 years old, and I needed to do some voice lessons, and somehow it came up. She didn't know the name Al Jolson. She didn't know the name Eddie Cantor. She didn't know the name Irving Berlin. She said, "Wow, should I know those?"
Yes.
I said, "Well, you're excused. It's okay." I said, she told me that she felt old because her youngest,
Oh my gosh.
her youngest clients don't know who Barney the dinosaur is, and she was feeling old because
Well, that's
the
where
kids don't
amnesia
even
would
know
come
Barney
in.
anymore. I said, "Well, it's like me. How many people know, Al Jolson or something?" And she was blank. I said, "Do you know who that is?"
No?
This is a Broadway singer.
Wow.
28
That's
years old.
incredible.
So that's what, it's kind of amazing what we take for granted. There are kids today, you hear college kids who don't know when World War II was.
Sure.
A lot of them in college.
It's true. Well, gentlemen, thank you guys so much. We gotta wrap here, but it's been a great.
That's all you
tour.
want of us? We're shit, you just throwing us out?
Forgive me.
Shit.
I have
I'm just getting warmed up and we'll get the fuck out of here.
We'll go ahead. We'll put you aside. We'll do it. We'll do a whole half hour show.
I get it. I understand. You want us the fuck out of here. All right.
Gentlemen, we got Josh.
Pleasure
Allen.
meeting you.
Pleasure meeting you. Mr. Todd Camp. Mr. Michael Price.
Mighty
Thanks
glad.
again, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mighty glad.
Absolutely. This is the Wildcatter Exchange here in downtown Fort Worth. This has been another edition of the ECG's Digital Chatterbox. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.